They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people.
On July 8, 2026, Donald Trump stood in front of 31 NATO leaders at the summit in Ankara, Turkey, and dropped a verbal nuclear bomb. Direct quote, "Iran is scum, cuckoo, a cancer." 3 words delivered in front of the entire North Atlantic Alliance. And immediately, within hours, every major news network on Earth rolled out the exact same narrative. Iran attacked commercial ships. Iran broke the deal. Iran is the aggressor. Iran started a war. Stop. Just stop for 1 second. Because the story you are hearing from CNN, the BBC, and Al Jazeera is exactly what someone very powerful wants you to believe. What if I told you that almost everything you've been told about this conflict is a carefully manufactured illusion? Today, I am going to show you 3 things that almost nobody is talking about. Number 1. Trump did not break the Memorandum of Understanding because Iran attacked those ships. Trump broke the MOU because he needed Iran to attack those ships. He needed a reason to get out, and he engineered that reason from the very first day. Number 2. While the United States and Iran are busy trading missiles, there is a third party, not Israel, not Saudi Arabia, not China, sitting quietly in the background, counting billions of dollars. And that party has not fired a single bullet into the Middle East. Not one. Number 3. Even if America wins this war, even if they bomb Iran back to the Stone Age, even if they sink every single IRGC vessel in the Persian Gulf, they will never, and I mean never, actually control the Strait of Hormuz. Not because of Iran's military strength, but because of a structural, permanent geographic reality that no army on Earth can change. Let's get into it. But before I show you the evidence, I need to give you a framework, a mental model. Because without this model, the events of July 8th look like random chaos. And they are not chaos. Not even close. I call this framework the exit trap. The concept is actually really simple once you see it. Imagine you sign a lease on an apartment. But here's the thing. You didn't actually want to sign that lease. You were pressured into it. Maybe by your family, your business partners, or your political allies who said, "Look, we need to show the world we can negotiate." So, you sign. But the moment the ink dries, you already want out. Now, the problem is that if you just walk away, if you just unilaterally cancel the lease, you have to pay massive penalties. And more importantly, you look like the bad guy. You look like the one who broke their word. So, what do? You make the landlord violate the lease first. You leave noise complaints unaddressed. You let small rule infractions slide, not because you don't notice them, but because you're waiting, you're accumulating. And then, at exactly the right moment, you deliberately set up a situation where the other side is forced to respond, where they have to push back, where they have to do something that gives you perfect legal and moral cover to say, "They broke the deal, not me, them." And then you walk away clean. That is the exit trap. Hold that concept in your mind, because every single piece of evidence I'm about to show you fits this model perfectly. Let's go. On June 17, 2026, the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran was signed. 14 points, a 60-day negotiation window, oil export licenses for Iran, Hormuz passage protocols, the whole package. And on that very same day, June 17th, the day of the signing, Trump steps to the microphone and says, again, quoting directly, "If I don't like what I see, we'll bomb immediately." Think about what that means. You do not say that at a signing ceremony unless you are signaling something. You are telling your domestic base, "I signed this, but I'm not committed. I am already looking for the emergency exit." You might say that's just Trump posturing. Fair. Let's look at what happened next. The MOU gave both sides 60 days to sit down, talk and work through disputes using established communication channels before either side could escalate militarily. 60 days. That is 2 full months, an eternity in geopolitics. So here is my question, and I want you to really sit with it before I give you the answer. In those 60 days, across all 14 points of the agreement, how many times did the American side reach out through the official MOU diplomatic channel to raise concerns, to flag a problem, or to say, hey, we think you're not complying with Article 5. Let's talk about it. How many times? 0. Not a few times, not once. 0. Instead of using the 60-day window for diplomacy, the United States military set up what is being called the Oman Route. This was a shipping lane that put commercial vessels directly into waters that Iran had already designated under the MOU as their Hormuz oversight zone. These were waters where Iran had specifically and publicly warned that unauthorized passage would be considered a direct provocation. To be absolutely clear, America had a 60-day diplomatic window. They used 0 days of it for diplomacy. Instead, they sailed ships into the exact waters Iran said not to sail ships into, completely bypassing the notification channel that the MOU had established for this exact purpose. Does that sound like a party that wants the deal to succeed? Or does that sound like a landlord being intentionally provoked? This brings us to July 8th, the date America launched over 80 airstrikes against targets in southern Iran. Why July 8th? Why not July 1st? Why not June 30th when the 60-day window was closing? Why not a week earlier or a week later? Because on July 8th, Trump was standing at the NATO summit in Ankara, right in front of 31 allied heads of state. Think about the staging. Think about the optics. He drops bombs on Iran while standing on the world stage in front of the entire alliance. The message to Europe, Japan, and South Korea was unmistakable. You need us. We are the only ones willing to act. So stop complaining about trade tariffs, stop complaining about NATO spending, and look what we just did. This wasn't just a military strategy. It was a high-level political production. But the real engineering happened in the legal realm. On July 8th, the exact same day as the airstrikes, the United States revoked General License X. For those unfamiliar, General License X was the legal document that allowed Iran to sell oil during the negotiation period. It was written directly into the deal as Article 10. Iran had agreed to negotiate on the condition that they received economic relief, and the US put it in writing. Trump revoked it on July 8th. Look at how beautifully ambiguous the sequence was engineered. When Iran responds and says, "You violated Article 10, we have the right to defend our interests," America says, "No, you attacked commercial ships first. You are the aggressor. You broke the deal." Because both actions happened within hours of each other on the exact same calendar day, the sequence becomes completely blurred. The entire world gets trapped arguing about who did what first. In that chaos, the truth gets buried, and the party with the better PR machine wins the narrative. And America has the biggest PR machine on Earth. That is the exit trap snapping shut. If you want to know how precisely this was calculated, look at the final number. The moment General License X was revoked, there were 63 million barrels of Iranian crude oil sitting in tankers around the world, in transit, waiting to be delivered. At market prices on July 8th, that is approximately $5 billion. All of it frozen instantly with one signature. Not seized, not blown up, just frozen. Inaccessible to Iran before breakfast. You wonder why Iran launched strikes on 85 American military sites across Bahrain and Kuwait that night. You wonder why they shot down a multi-million-dollar MQ-9 Reaper drone. They were furious. They had just lost $5 billion to a piece of paperwork. And that fury, That predictable, completely foreseeable fury is exactly what the exit trap was designed to produce. Now, I have to stop here because I do something in every single one of my lectures that I think is non-negotiable if you want to take analysis seriously. I am going to present the strongest possible case for the side I am arguing against. Not a weak version, not a straw man, but the actual strongest version. Because if I can't address the strongest counter-argument, I'm not doing analysis, I'm just doing advocacy. The strongest argument against this thesis is a hard fact. Iran did attack 3 commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz before the US airstrikes on July 8th. AIS data confirms they went dark in Iranian waters, and Lloyd's of London invoked war risk clauses. But before accepting this as definitive, ask yourself 4 questions. Why were those ships routed there? Why did the US ignore diplomatic channels for 60 days? Why pull Iran's oil license at the exact same hour as the bombing? And why time it perfectly with a major NATO summit? Occam's razor tells us 5 massive coincidences aren't an accident. It's a plan. And it's a plan that expands into a global game of chess. While the world was hyper-focused on the Gulf, what was Vladimir Putin doing? At 1:19 a.m. that same night, Russia launched 54 ballistic missiles at Ukraine. Shockingly, Ukraine intercepted only 4. Why? Because a massive portion of Ukraine's Patriot interceptor missiles had just been quietly redirected to the Middle East. Putin knew American air defense stocks were finite. He waited for the perfect distraction to hit Ukraine at its weakest. At the exact same time, Brent crude oil spiked by 6%. For a country exporting 7 million barrels a day, that $5 bump handed Moscow an extra $35 million in revenue every single day. It gets deeper. Russia and Iran share a critical intelligence agreement. When Iran successfully targeted 85 US sites and shot down an MQ-9 Reaper drone, they used Russian satellite data. Look at the loop. Russia provides targeting data, Iran attacks US assets, America drains its European stockpiles to defend the Gulf, Russia hammers a depleted Ukraine while cashing in on skyrocketing oil prices. This is the CRINC model. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, coordinating to exploit American strategic bandwidth across 4 different theaters at once. You don't have to defeat the superpower, you just have to exhaust it. This exposes the ultimate American policy illusion: Hormuz dominance. The belief that the US Navy can open or close the strait at will is an absolute fantasy for 3 structural reasons. First, geography. The actual deep-water shipping lane is only 3 kilometers wide. You don't need a massive navy to close it. You just need advanced naval mines, which Iran has stockpiled for decades. The US Navy's mine-sweeping division is notoriously underfunded. Clearing that tiny lane under fire would take months, causing global economic collapse long before the job is done. Second, Iran's mosaic defense doctrine. Iran has divided its military command across all 31 provinces. Each province operates with independent authority, communications, and stockpiles. If Tehran is wiped out, they keep fighting. There is no central node to strike. It makes America's favorite strategy, decapitation of leadership, completely useless. You cannot force a surrender when there is no single leader who can surrender for the whole. Finally, the strait is becoming geopolitically obsolete. The real battle isn't over the physical water, it's a race to bypass it. Billions are being poured into cross-continental pipelines and alternative trade routes. The geographic chokehold is losing its leverage simply because the world is building a path around it. If you want to understand the hidden architecture behind global events before they happen, consider subscribing and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next breakdown.